Hello everyone, hope you're having a good week. In the year 1843 in Edinburgh in Scotland, 450 ministers and elders left the General Assembly of the Church of Scotland. They walked out on principle. The principle at the time was the issue of patronage. The Church of Scotland had been founded on the basis that the Church was an independent body that governed itself. Patronage had grown up over decades, in which landowners had the power to appoint local ministers that they liked. So landowners in the community were appointing ministers. The men who walked out of the assembly that year believed they were evangelicals, and they believed in the principle that churches should call their own ministers. So it was a very important principle. But when they walked out the assembly that day, they were leaving their homes, church manses, their church buildings, their place in the community, because the ministers had an important place in Scottish society. And above all, they were leaving their people. Many of them, the people would follow with them, but they couldn't guarantee that when they left the General Assembly. It was a dark period, and they were leaving their salaries, obviously, as well. One of their number, one man in that group, left with a plan in his head, and his plan was to build 400 churches. Now that plan was absolutely incomprehensible because they didn't have the money to do that. They had no money to do that. But he had a plan. He had connections down in London. He knew lords and people who were in the City of London, the financial district. And he effectively raised money to build 400 churches. The man in question is Thomas Chalmers. Thomas Chalmers, university professor and a minister, a genius, great preacher. You could find him
If you don't want the home packs, I've got a box that you could put them in, okay?
Thank you. You could find him down in London.
Want any ketchup?
No, thank you.
Enjoy.
Speaking to the, thank you. You could find him down in London speaking to the lords and members of Parliament. Or you would find him up close in a tenement building in Scotland, teaching poor people how to read. Just a great man. And Chalmers, under Chalmers' leadership, the Free Church of Scotland decided to address the social issues of Scotland as well as to preach the gospel, build churches, and see evangelical Christianity triumph in the land. And along with him are people whose names you may know: Andrew Bonar, Horatius Bonar. We sing a Bonar hymn at communion. And Robert Murray McShane, one of the great worthies of Scotland, who died at the age of 29, great minister of the gospel. And what that reminded me of really is we at 10th have taken over the generations really an interest in social issues. We've seen them in relation to the gospel, not as an end in themselves, but as an entailment of the gospel. And we still do. And we talked last week about David Apple's work. That was an important work, and the work of mercy is going to continue in the coming days as an entailment of the gospel. And I urge you to pray about that in the coming days. I hope you have a good week, and we'll enjoy our breakfast now.